It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, and tomorrow is spring. Yeah, I just found that out as I was putting the show together today. I suddenly realized that tomorrow is the first day of spring. And for a lot of people in the state of Wyoming, they got a heavy winter, and that's more to the west side. For us on the east side, and especially northeast side, that was kind of mild, and will be for the next few days. And now you know what to do with spring. You know how this works. Just because we're getting to spring, which is officially tomorrow, that has nothing to do with whether we're going to get more winter or not. So stay tuned.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when the hits the fan.
You know, that's a great way to. It's a good name. I'm glad he came up with that name. I got a couple of surprises for you this morning.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Now, first off, we had a really serious discussion on Friday about what you call the phobia of you're afraid to sit on the outhouse toilet hole because of what might bite you. And what do you call that phobia? I mean, got a lot of suggestions. So they're all compiled and ready to go. I'll go ahead and write that up and come up with a decision probably Tuesday, which would, again, be the first day of spring. Now, that's not ready for us, but here's something that I do have. So a little while ago, I was thinking about the Beverly Hillbillies and thinking they made probably a smart decision back when old Uncle Jed hit oil on his land. And they ended up rich, and so they moved to Beverly Hills. But that makes no sense today. There's no way the Beverly Hillbillies could survive in today's Hollywood, especially being rich oil barons. And there's no way culturally at all, they could make it. So we would have to rewrite the song then, for when they leave California, because they're not going to stay. They're going to pack up and go. Well, okay. I went ahead and rewrote some of the words to the song. And then I went looking for someone who could voice the song. And I found someone. There's a website called Fiverr, and it's a place where you can go find people who have talent that would like to get a little extra money on the side in doing things like this. Had a nice discussion with the gentleman. I picked him because his auditions, which you leave on the website, samples. And I thought his voice ought to be just perfect for this. I was looking for, if you remember the original Beverly Hillbillies song, I was looking for a voice that's a bit more mature, has a bit of a southern accent to it, and understands bluegrass-style music. And you would think that'd be a tough find today. Yeah, I had to dig around a little bit, but I was able to do it. And this gentleman, I thought, did just a bang-up job. So here's the Beverly Hillbillies song about when they leave California.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. Then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground came a bubbling crude. Now he's a rich white guy living in Beverly Hills. Liberals, Botox, hypocrites, gun control. Well, the first thing you know, they tax his underwear. Ken folks said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you need to leave. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Tennessee. Low taxes, coal mines, and diesel trucks.
See, I thought he did just a great job.
Come visit. Set a spell. Take your shoes off. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Though I do think with that very end part there, I probably could have written something funny there too. But overall, I'm really pleased with the way the guy did that. So, all right, yes, I'll be playing the hell of that. Just the hell out of it today because I'm just pleased. Saturday is when I first listened to that and went, oh, I can't wait till Monday. So I can go ahead and play the whole thing. All right, see, today is like the spring eve. Tomorrow's the first day of spring. And so I got that all set, ready to go. We got the Beverly Hillbillies. I know it's going to be a big shocker, but in Russia, they had their presidential elections. Now, I'll give you one guess as to who won in an overwhelming landslide. I know, right? Huge shocker. Now, there were three other people running against Putin. No word as to whether they're still around or not, but they were on the ballot anyway. Maybe that just helps it to look legit. I don't know. But he won with like 85%, which, yeah, Putin won with 85%, which probably really annoys him that he didn't get closer to like 95% or 98%. The 85 is an all-time low for him. But nonetheless, Putin is once again president of Russia. And again, I know that you are just absolutely shocked to hear that Putin won in such an overwhelming majority. How could that happen in a place like Russia? I mean, there's a lot of political dissent there. That's allowed, right? Freedom of speech and all this? Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah, Jude and Casper, yeah, he did a good job. No, Jim, I can't say that on the air. That's a good one, Jim. Jim is offering a suggestion for what do we call the phobia when you're afraid to sit on the outhouse toilet hole because something might bite you from underneath. And it's more of an acronym than anything else. I think that actually works out pretty good, Jim. But no, I can't say that on the air. Therefore, and also if you're going to make an acronym, it should have a vowel or two in it so people can actually say it because there's no vowels in there. And so it makes it very hard to say that. It sounds more like somebody's just making spitting noises. No, I can't say a single word of what Jim wrote to me, but it's actually pretty funny, Jim. I think you... All right. Next up I have for you, I'm not big on polls, but I'll do it right after this news and information break. This is a poll that shows something about illegal immigration and something Biden's doing with illegal immigration that the majority of Americans are opposed to. And the poll will not shock you at all.
God created the dog and said, "Sit all day by the door of your house and bark at anyone who comes in or walks past. For this, I will give you a lifespan of 20 years. The dog said, "That's a long time to be barking. How about only 10 years and I'll give you back the other 10. God agreed. Then God created the monkey and said, "Do tricks and make people laugh. For this, I'll give you a 20-year lifespan." The monkey said, "Tricks for 20 years. How about I give you back 10 like the dog did?" God agreed. Thereafter God created the cow and said, "You must go into the field with the farmer every day. Have calves and give milk to support the farmer's family. For this I will give you a lifespan of 60 years. The cow said, "That's kind of a tough life for 60 years. How about 20 and I'll give back the other 40? And God agreed again. Then God created man and said, "Eat, sleep, play, marry, and enjoy your life. For this I'll give you 20 years. But man said, "Only 20 years. Could you possibly give me my 20, the 40 the cow gave back, the 10 the monkey gave back, and the 10 the dog gave back? That makes 80, okay?" "Okay," said God, "you asked for it. So that is why for our first 20 years we eat, sleep, play, and enjoy ourselves. For the next 40 years we slave in the sun to support our family. For the next 10 years we do monkey tricks to entertain the grandchildren. And for the last 10 years we sit on the front porch and bark at everyone. Life has now been explained to you."
This show contains sarcasm and some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, I'm not big on polls. You know that. But now and then there's one I look at and I go, okay, that's interesting. Now, if you've been watching the news, you know that Biden has been loading illegal immigrants in other countries onto airplanes and flying them into the country. So it's not just the illegals that are pouring over the border, but he's flying them in from other countries, which makes me believe more than ever before, hey, you know, when we get to election time, there's a reason they want so many people here on the government dole, rescued from other countries, with free living, free food, all that kind of stuff. And even though they're not citizens, they'll have the right to vote and no voter ID. I mean, it seems to me, yeah, let's just go ahead and stuff the ballot box in a different way. I can't think of any other reason for it unless you can. But all right, in looking at this, so with all of the airplanes coming in over the border, with all of these illegals brought in by the Biden administration, somebody did a poll. The story says after reports about the Biden administration program of flying illegal immigrants into the United States, most U.S. voters, ready, oppose the program. I know, right? I didn't see that coming. Most people oppose. Latest Rasmussen report, National Telephone Online Survey. So I don't take that as a huge. This is why it's, but still it says that 60% of likely voters disapprove. And I'm thinking only 60? No, it's got to be higher than 60%. Disapprove of the program of international flights last year, which transported about 300,000 illegal immigrants into U.S. airports, including 46% who strongly disapprove. These numbers represent, the story says, more bad news for the Biden team, et cetera, which means during the course of this election, this is something that really has to be brought up and driven home. Not only, Joe, did you just leave the border open and lie about the border being secure, but at the same time, you were loading people onto airplanes and flying them into the country. It's interesting to read this, and the story goes on and on and on with all sorts of details, but I look at that and I think, no, really, I just don't think we needed a poll to tell us this. I think pretty much everybody knew this, and out of those people who agree with it, I would love to know why. But that's the same for me when it's when someone does a poll that says, well, you know, there's a very small percentage of Americans, about 20, I'm forgetting the number. Well, I can go ahead and look it up. I got this internet thing in front of me here. What percentage of people distrust the media? And the answer is just 7% of Americans have a great deal of trust and confidence in the media, news media. So 7% have a great deal of trust in news media. Who are those people? I'd really like to know. I'd like to meet a few of those. And then 27% have a fair amount. 28% of the U.S. adults say they don't have much confidence. 38% say none at all. Distrust I'm just going to change one word. Government. Poll of trust in the government. Okay. Now, this depends on which political party you're talking about. Public trust in federal government, which has been down for decades, near record lows. Fewer than 2 in 10 Americans say they trust government in Washington. And 1% say most of the time. 15%, 1% say most of the time. This is among the lowest measures. Last year, 20% say they trust the government just about always or most. I'd like to know who those people are. And those who do trust the government tend to be either Democrats. No, seriously, they are. Either they're Democrats or they work in government in some way. They're politicians or they're bureaucrats. When national elections began asking questions about trust in government in 1958, 3/4 of Americans in 1958 had trust in the government. Today, 25% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents trust the government, and about 8% of Republicans. Well, okay, we're doing polls again. I'd have to see how they ask the questions, but I look at it and think, for those 8% of Republicans who have trust in the government, exactly trust how? Trust, because I trust government to screw everything up and lie to me 100% of the time, but it depends on how you want to ask the question. Jim and Casper, Putin-esque. Another blatant move toward communism. Jude and Casper. It's called Wild Cards Project and Agenda 30. You should know. Okay. I have to go back and see what you're talking about. Chet and Yoder, remember the illegals got polled, too. Oh, about who they're going to vote for? I would say that if most people illegally coming across the border, if most of them illegally coming across the border intended to vote Republican, then it would be the Democrats building a border wall right now. I honestly think that, really, why open the border to so much chaos? Why? And the best I can think of is because here comes an election cycle. But if you got a different explanation for it, let me know. Because this is insane. It really is. All right. Coming up, I know I covered a lot in that area, but I just thought you'd find that first poll interesting. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of, be news time. Right after news time, update on your weather forecast. You and I go rolling back into it again. I do have the story here, jump into another topic, of a millionaire, self-made, self-taught millionaire.
And Sunday.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio. The time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Get into phone calls and all of that in just a little bit from now. Let me see. Where was... Not that one. No, okay. Sometimes I just absolutely hate this. There's two tabs open up there. See if I can go ahead and do that. No. Here we go. That's the story. Okay. Something disappeared. I had to go and bring it back. All right, here we go. A entrepreneur is worth in excess of 9 figures and credits his success partly in distancing himself from his family's liberal beliefs after noticing that successful people have just a different worldview. The 51-year-old grew up broke, living in subsidized housing in Connecticut with a single mother. He respected his mom, but wanted to create a better life than the one she was living in. I told my mom one day, I'm like, Mom, I love you with all my heart, but you've been preaching to me about how I have to believe in being a Democrat. Like, that's how I was raised, he said, but if all of us in this complex, we're all Democrats and it's all subsidized, and we've been that way for a couple of generations now, why are we still here? What's the deal here? He said, I got to go find other people. I wasn't trying to live broke. I wanted to get out of all of this and do something different. And so he did. Now, he's the co-host of a podcast where they talk about, in an in-depth conversation, about success. Things weren't always rosy. He says at a young age, he noticed that successful people in his life, many of them were in his youth, baseball coaches. These had more of a conservative worldview. That doesn't mean, again, you put on MAGA hats and so on. In other words, it's a belief in capitalism, in the individual, in working hard, being innovative. So he said, I love my mother, and I love to see what she's doing. I love who she is, but I don't want to follow that path for financial support. I didn't want to. He said, all the men and women that were successful had a completely different set of beliefs. He said, I remember reading about Magic Johnson a long time ago. When he was with the Lakers, he would call people on the court and ask them,
what they did for a living. And I was like, I'm not Magic Johnson. But that sounds to me to make a lot of sense. I found he buried himself in successful people, looking at what successful people did. He went off to college to pursue degrees in business. After a time doing that, he was approached by a professor who ran the business department. I said, all of these business professors are not business people and women. Why should I listen to them, he said. And then he thought after a while, well, I just shouldn't. Because here he is at a college trying to learn about how to be a successful entrepreneur from people who have never been entrepreneurs. And more like leftist professors who didn't believe in capitalism anyway. So he was unloading trucks for UPS and McDonald's, put himself through what he needed in college, switched majors, went on to become a social worker for a while, spent time with abused children and so on, trying to help them out. And he said with capitalism instilled in him from conservatives, he sought advice along the way. He said, I enjoyed advocating for families while he was doing that. So he got himself a real estate license and decided to get out there and start making money. He eventually went from buying a couple of properties to owning hundreds and working his way up. And he was a self-motivated, self-taught, self-made person. In other words, all of the things that he had been told over the years by those around him about how to make it in the world were wrong. And it really came down to learning how to be a motivated human being, an individual, and working hard and being creative and innovative and making it in a free market world. And with a different mindset like that, he became a very successful rich man. But it all started living in a housing community where everybody there in the housing community voted Democrat and had been voting for subsidies for several generations. That's all they ever did, is they never moved out. They never moved up. They never moved on to better things. They just stayed right there. And that's something he realized was a problem. If he wanted to get out of that and become something bigger, something better, he had to think about it in a new way, which is what he did. 6:42 is the time. Wake up.
Covering world-ending catastrophes for years to come. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Find content, chat live, and listen on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
6:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino waiting by. I know this is going to come as a shocker. Tomorrow's the first day of spring.
It is. And which means we still have 6 more weeks of winter.
Yes.
Because
true.
I count April as a winter month.
It pretty much is. In fact, listening to Don Day's weather this morning, it's always unsettled this time of month. So, I mean, this time of year, it's always unsettled.
Yeah.
As we transition, it gets really unsettled.
Yeah.
So expect some big storm at some point. We still haven't had that yet.
We'll probably have 2.
Okay. So,
2 before, let's say, May the 15th.
So my theory, since this part of Wyoming has had a very mild winter. I mean, west of here, they've really been slammed.
Yeah. Here, not so much.
Not so much.
We're dry as a bone here.
That means we're in for some major trouble.
Yeah, everything catches up.
It does. Well, Mother Nature sucker punches you. You know this. Yeah.
And those spring storms, they could be, a foot,
Sure.
foot and a half,
Sure.
but they're gone in 2 days.
Right. So just when you think that it's okay
It's not.
to step outside in shorts and a T-shirt and sandals, you lay outside in your lawn chair to catch some sun, and then they find your frozen corpse 2 days later.
I think most people here know that it's not quite over yet.
Okay.
I'm assuming they are.
Right.
I know. You know.
Been through a few of those.
Yeah.
Been stuck a couple of times.
So you can go out there and say, okay, I'm going to catch this while I can.
Right.
Because my winter coat is right on the chair over there.
Right. Well, what I usually do when I go to work in the morning is I open up the door, give it just a moment, and then I run for the car before it starts to blizzard on me.
Yeah. I for years and years and years, Glenn, I didn't have a garage. And even when I did, I didn't even park in it because I let my wife at the time park.
Yeah.
Now I laugh at people who have no garages.
Oh, okay.
Because that was you
Yeah.
and Mary.
Well,
Both
yeah.
of you, but you know why? Because the last time it snowed, you had snow all over your car.
Yeah, because I have a garage.
Well, why don't you park in the garage?
Because somebody else put some old classic car in there.
They put a what?
An old classic car sits in my garage.
Oh.
It's not my car.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you charging them rent?
Yeah, sort of. And, I think I ought to just sell it on them.
Well, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
And then you would have garage space.
Hey, to park my car.
Yeah, how about that? Women's junior college basketball, Casper College won the Region 9 tournament on Saturday, beating NJC from Sterling, Colorado, 81-69. Birds were 12 of 23 from the three-point line. That's phenomenal. And got 23 points from Lucha X. Kelly Walsh High School grad Logan Alvar had 11 points. She was named to the all-tournament team. Casper's 28-5 and have won the Region 9 championship 3 years in a row. They'll be making their fourth straight appearance at the Junior College National Tournament, which will be in Casper this year. The Birds are the 14th seed in the tournament, and they'll play Blinn, Texas, in the opening round on Wednesday at the Ford Center. A week from Wednesday, the Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team got a bid to the WNIT with a 16-14 record. They'll find out their opponent and the date they will play on later on today. Cowgirls lost 6 of their last 8 games to end the season, but they're making their third straight appearance in the WNIT. Last year, they beat Texas Corpus Christi in the first round, lost to Kansas State in the second round. Boise State from the Mountain West Conference will also be in the WNIT. UNLV, the only women's Mountain West team to qualify for the NCAA tournament. They'll be a 10th seed with a record of 30-2. In men's college basketball, the Mountain West Conference had a record 6 teams qualify for the NCAA tournament. New Mexico, who won the Mountain West tournament in Las Vegas, is an 11th seed in the West region. They'll take on Clemson in the first round. Nevada is a 10th seed in the West, plays Dayton in the opening round. Utah State, the regular season champion of the league, is an 8th seed, and they draw TCU in round 1. San Diego State is the highest seeded Mountain West team, as the Aztecs are the 5th seed in the East. Their first round opponent will be Alabama Birmingham. 2 Mountain West teams will be in the first 4 games in Dayton. Among the 10th seeded games, Colorado State will take on Virginia, and Boise State will play Colorado. High school track and field season kicked off on Saturday in Casper with the early bird meet at Natrona on the boys' side. Natrona won the team title with Kelly Walsh second. Individually for the boys, Natrona's Dom Jensen won the 100-meter dash. Kelly Walsh's Micah Colling took the 800. His teammate Tage Longhurst won the 1600. Kaleo Brubaker of NC won the 3200. William Cantrell of Natrona won the 110 hurdles, and his teammate Caden Lee won 6'8" to win the high jump. Natrona's Ben Spencer won the shot put, and Quincy Paris of Midwest won the triple jump. On the girls' side of that Casper meet, Natrona's second, Kelly Walsh fourth. KW's Tegan Becker won both of the throwing events. Natrona's Cami Costello finished first in the 400, and her teammate Ashley Gross won the 3200. That's in sports.
So that's what you did all weekend, huh?
Watched junior college basketball and watched the Casper College game. It was pretty exciting. And they won the Region 9 championship. A lot of smiles and pictures and stuff like that. It was kind of cool. So they're going to, and that national tournament is going to be in Casper week after next.
Okay.
And I went to the outdoor high school track meets.
Yeah.
The weather was
nice,
better than I thought it would have been.
You see, I would expect about halfway around the track they would get hit by a blizzard.
Well, last year they didn't even have it because of the weather.
Okay. It just varies from year to year, Frank. So you know what that means for next year?
Yeah, they won't have it.
They won't have it, right. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. It was just always interesting to me how things are split like this. Like half of Wyoming got a mild winter and the other half got buried. But next year, the exact opposite. We've seen that happen before. You know how that works. Wake up, Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Tomorrow, just so you know, is the official first day of spring, which has nothing to do with when spring really arrives. You know that.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation. for when the hits the fan.
It's a great name for that, too, by the way. Okay, so I got a story for you here, but for those who listened in the first hour, if you don't mind, I got to play it again. Which I'm going to play the hell out of this today. I just have to, because it turned out so well. If you remember, I, a while ago, rewrote the words to the Beverly Hillbillies. Because why in this day and age would they move to California, especially Beverly Hills? A conservative family that's made it rich on oil, and they moved to Hollywood, Beverly Hills, specifically. Wow, that just wouldn't work out in today's age. So I rewrote the song, and I sent it to a guy who could who could sing it for me. And I was specifically looking for a guy who had the right kind of voice to do this, and boy, did I find it. And he did a great job.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. Then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground came a bubbling crude. Now he's a rich white guy living in Beverly Hills. Liberals, Botox, hypocrites, gun control. Well, the first thing you know, they tax his underwear. Ken folks said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you need to leave. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Tennessee. Low taxes, coal mines, and diesel trucks.
So there were some people who asked me, then how come you didn't say Wyoming? Which I would have. I really wanted to fit Wyoming in there. But it didn't rhyme. Tennessee rhymes. Wyoming doesn't rhyme with that. So I went ahead and, anyway, thought the guy did a fantastic job with that. So, yeah, I'll play the hell out of that today. All right, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Found a quick survey that was done of people in the oil and natural gas and coal business. And they were asked, what states are most friendly to you? Who actually makes it worth doing business? Because in general, in America, it's very difficult to do business if you're in the coal, gas, and oil business. So what states are the best? What states are the worst? You are not going to be surprised. You'll be happy to know, if you're with me in Wyoming, Wyoming's number one on the list as most friendly. Now, that doesn't mean there still aren't problems. We still have carbon sequestration. That's got to get done. Not speaking of the federal government, just the state of Wyoming. But for the most part, the state of Wyoming makes it very easy, very business friendly to extract energy in the state of Wyoming. All right, what makes it difficult is the Biden administration. Now, Alaska moved up quite a bit. They're like number 7 now as far as being friendly. Care to guess who's the worst? If you scream California at the radio, you got it right. California is just bottom of the barrel as far as business friendly for extracting energy. Colorado, you're not far behind. You're among the worst. I mean, really way down there. Colorado used to be very friendly to energy, but they've gotten just the opposite of that now. In which case, Wyoming's ripe and ready to go. But people who are in the energy business have complained that really more than anything, they're fighting the Biden administration. More than anything else, they're fighting the Biden administration when it comes to energy. And if the Biden administration would just get out of the way, they'd be able to get a whole lot more work done. So, okay. This was from the Fraser Institute Energy Sector Competitiveness Survey, ranking Wyoming at the top state for their investment for the second year in a row. The study examines how states and Canadian provinces, have allowed investment in oil and gas exploration and extraction and production. So the study asks whether companies are being encouraged or discouraged to invest in those areas. Are they overregulated? If so, where, how? So with regulations, of course, every time government dumps more regulations on, it's not just slowing the process down, but it's the cost of compliance. It gets expensive to comply with this, which makes it much more difficult to produce energy. And energy becomes more expensive for the customers, too. Energy becomes less reliable. So Wyoming is one of the best. Here's a quote from Ryan McConery, I think is his name, spokesperson for the Petroleum Association. He said, I think this report just gives, to just show our leaders here in Wyoming understand their funding, where their funding comes from. Well, to fund the state, in other words, and where the livelihood of the majority of Wyoming residents comes from. And they try to do their best to make sure regulatory framework supports the industry while also supporting the safety and environmental landscape. So, okay. But then there was a guy from Alaska that said if it wasn't, here's what he actually says. His name is Whiteback. He's up in Alaska in the energy industry. If it wasn't for the ongoing assault from the Biden administration on our natural resource economy, Alaska would probably be top. Okay. So at the same time, I was thinking about something over the weekend. Now, you've had this happen before. We all have. You know something to be true. But then one day it all kind of comes together in your head and you go, oh, you always had the pieces in your head, but you really put it together. So what I was thinking about energy over the weekend, because I'm a dork like that. And you've heard me say many times that when it comes to wind and solar energy and electric cars, that government's trying to create an artificial economy. And artificial economies don't work. Now, Margaret Thatcher said it right. The problem with socialism is sooner or later you run out of other people's money. And that's exactly what's going to happen here, because you've seen this over the years. When we're talking wind energy or solar energy or electric cars, they cannot exist without heavy government subsidies. Now, subsidy is different from a tax break. A tax break is when a company earns the money by doing business, and so it's theirs. They did business in an honest way. It's their money. They own the money. Government was going to tax that money, but then business decided to do something that would help the economy, like creating more jobs, repairing old equipment, buying new equipment, things like this. In which case, government will not tax them so they have the money to do those things, which is good for the economy. That's not a subsidy. That's a tax break. A subsidy is when government takes money from the people and gives it to specific businesses. And that's what wind and solar and electric cars survive on. And we've seen time and time again that whenever those businesses, the subsidies run out, they go out of business quickly. You've seen that many times. In fact, even the auto industry trying to create electric cars are only really doing it because they're so heavily subsidized. And as soon as those subsidies run out, automakers are not going to make those electric cars anymore. In fact, Ford is billions of dollars every year. They lose billions of dollars in their electric automobile industry, those factories trying to build electric cars, despite all the government subsidies. So what happens if you have a government that's over $35 trillion in debt, far more than that actually, and they're borrowing money to pay the interest on that debt? Sooner or later, they won't be able to do that anymore. And when that happens, what happens to wind and solar and your electric cars? They can't exist without the subsidies. Now, oil and gas and coal, hydropower, the internal combustion engine for your automobile, those things were always profitable. They didn't need government subsidies or tax breaks. They're profitable on their own. So just let it go. Let it do what it does. Let government run out of money and have no money to hand out free cash, if you will, which is not exactly true. Let government run out of money and crash, and those industries can keep going just fine. In fact, they'll probably even do better with less government interference. That's why you cannot create an artificial marketplace. It's just, in the long run, this just doesn't work, does it?
Okay, I'm usually not one to brag about expensive trips that I take, but I just got back from the grocery store.
Listen to Glenn Woods anywhere you roam with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so 888-97 Woods the phone number, and we'll get into open phones in just a little while. Let me get into this since I mentioned Wyoming made, as far as surveys done of people who produce energy, oil, gas, coal. The state, not the federal government, but the state of Wyoming is the easiest to do business in. And it's now that way for the second year in a row. We still have a lot to fix in the state of Wyoming when it comes to regulations, and that includes getting rid of carbon sequestration, problems like that, which make it less reliable, more expensive energy. But still, overall, best state, as far as surveying people in the energy industry, which state is the best to do business in. Now, I had mentioned you can't create an artificial economy. Because an artificial economy, as Margaret Thatcher said, sooner or later you run out of other people's money. And the federal government will. And all those sources of energy which rely on subsidies to be built go out of business because that's how they're surviving, subsidies. There was a story out of Nevada a couple of years ago. The state of Nevada wanted to encourage people to put solar panels on the roofs of their homes and businesses. And so they not just gave tax breaks for it, but also handed out subsidies. But they told the solar panel industry that you guys need to be self-sustaining, and they gave them about 5 years to do it. And then the subsidies run out, and then eventually the tax breaks run out, and you guys are just going to have to make it like every other business in Nevada. Well, as soon as that money ran out, solar panel companies in Nevada just started going out of business, almost immediately. You can still buy solar panels in Nevada, but it's hard to find a company to do it. They're almost all gone. Because, again, when the money ran out, that was the end of it. Now, there are some ways they're still trying to force us into things that will not exist when the money runs out. Headline, Biden administration set to finalize major car gas crackdown over warning from automakers in the energy industry. The story says Biden administration is expected this week to finalize highly anticipated regulations. Now, remember, these are laws that did not go through lawmakers. They went around the constitutional process and went right to the bureaucrats. They're going to target gas-powered vehicles, tailpipe emissions, and consider the it's a tip of the spear, they figure, for the transportation sector. The EPA is slated to issue final rulemaking, laws without Congress, which officials have boasted will incentivize greater adoption of electric vehicles, but which opponents have criticized as a de facto mandate. As soon as Wednesday, the industry sources told Fox News the regulations are a key part of the president's climate agenda, which would ultimately force automakers to more rapidly expand electric options for fleets. The problem is, again, people aren't really buying these things. There was a spike in the market originally in buying electric cars, but it fell off fast. Quote, it certainly won't do anything to improve human health. It won't do anything to reduce pollution, said the American Energy Institute, who has researched the EV market. Said, you've proven that in this country that we're already a world leader in clean air. All it's going to do is continue to push the cost of electric vehicles on purchasers in favor of the internal combustion engine. That's what they're trying to do. I think this goes to court and the Biden administration loses on this. That's one way to get rid of this. Also, if we have in this next election a Republican president, and I would love to have a Republican Congress too, with real conservatives, not a lot of the people that are currently in there. And let's get rid of this. It can be done. It's been shown. Quote, this is purely being done for campaign reasons, to really appease the left large donor base that all the climate alarmists are driving this movement and what they think toward reality. But see, again, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. Sounds great until they run out of money to subsidize the production and sale
of electric vehicles. And when that happens, you won't be able to produce them anymore. They will not be able to produce them anymore. Even with all of the heavy subsidies, Ford is losing money on electric vehicles. Imagine what happens when the money runs out. Overall, the story says, and under the proposal, which the EPA unveiled in April of 2023, and will go into effect in 2027, the White House projected that 67% of new sedan, crossover SUVs, light truck purchases should be electric by 2032, which isn't going to happen. They're nowhere near that goal. In addition, up to 50% of buses and garbage truck, 35% of short-haul freighters and tractors, 25% long-haul freight tractor purchases should also be electric by then, which, of course, again, if you look at the way the market is trending, there's no way that that's going to happen. And then they run out of money to subsidize it, and there's really no way it's going to happen. The White House said the proposal, which represents the most aggressive proposal of its kind ever proposed, would create the clean vehicle transition, when, again, there's the next fallacy, because these vehicles that they're trying to push you into are not clean. In January, EPA submitted its final regulations to the White House for review, and in recent weeks, the Office of Budget and Management has hosted a flurry of meetings with energy officials. Last month, the New York Times reported that the agency had endorsed its so-called Alternative C approach, which would loosen rule implementation between 2027 and 2030, so they wouldn't do it as fast. But if the planet is dying now, then why not just make us all do it today? But again, they still can't, because even with all of this, and it will be challenged in court, and we could wind up with a Republican House and Senate and President that can get rid of all of that. But even if that doesn't happen, they still run out of money. And when the government runs out of money and there's no subsidies rolling in, see, even with the subsidies, they're losing money now on electric vehicles. So imagine what happens when the subsidies run out. All right, coming up on some local business that we have to take care of, and then right after that, it's look at your weather forecast, and then you and I get back into it again. So we'll talk about springtime with Don Day at 7:45. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
And Sunday.
Want to talk to Glenn? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. Wake Up Wyoming coming up on 7:45. We'll have Don Day on, who talks about the first day of spring, which is tomorrow, among other things we've got to talk about. I know I've been jumping around quite a bit this morning, but there's a lot going on. So just touching a little bit. We can get into more a little bit later on. All right. Let's see. Put that one aside. I'll get that at next. Let's go to South Carolina. I want you to hear. This is the South Carolina House of Representatives. And a conservative gets up to talk about, well, ever-growing government and what the real job of government is supposed to be. And what he says and the discussion, the debate he gets into, to me was just inspiring.
The pressure in here in Columbia is for me to not even vote red on the board. Y'all might not know this. A dark money entity that was created on Tuesday, the day after we voted for this, I went home and a attack piece went out in my whole district about the fact that I voted for this. I get that the people in Columbia, that the lobby wants me to either not vote or to vote green on this. But my constituents want me to vote red, and they want their tax money spent on core government functions, on their roads, on their schools. That's what they want their money spent on. So, they don't want us in here trying to play this government planning thing where we in our bureaus can figure out where the job should be, who should be employed, how much money should be allocated where in the private sector. It never works. It's socialism. It's never worked anywhere before. So what are we doing trying to do it here?
But would you consider the fact that South Carolina's track record on bringing major projects into this state has a winning record, and therefore, again, commerce should be listened to rather than those people back in your district that may not have ever brokered a deal, may not understand what it means to being a project, may not understand economic incentives. So what your suggestion is we should listen to the people back home in your district rather than the people at Commerce that have been successful at bringing these mega deals to South Carolina.
Mr. Rutherford, I don't think that you could have espoused a philosophy that disagrees more fundamentally than me. I completely disagree with you, and I think that you believe what you just said. But no, I 100% am going to listen to the people back home who I represent in this house, and you should listen to the 40,000 people in your area, and not the bureaucrats at Commerce, and not the lobbyists, and not the multi-billion-dollar international corporations. You should listen to your constituents like I am. So yes, I will always fall back on the common sense of the wonderful people from Taylor's and Greenville Eastside, far more than I will ever listen to unelected bureaucrats, other representatives in here who have been here for far too long and have maybe managed a whole lot of these deals, and far more than I will ever listen to any member out there.
I'm just going to find that guy's name and see if we can run him for, first off, let's just run him for Senate, right? Then maybe we can get him as governor. How long do you have to be in Wyoming before you can run as governor? I know he's in South Carolina, but if we can get him, he's got to run for president. I'd love to see that too. I want guys like that, but especially the idea that how dare he? I mean, because the gentleman who challenged him, well, I mean, these bureaucrats and these lobbyists and other such people in and out of government around us here in the capital of South Carolina obviously know more better about brokering these really big deals than these people back in your district who obviously, I mean, what do they know? Well, the answer is they might know more than you think. And they're also the people who voted for that guy. So part of the reason for voting someone, I mean, remember, we are a republic. We're not a direct democracy. The idea, the way that this works is when election time comes around, you find someone who most represents what you want. They don't have to exactly do what majority rules. They don't have to do that. But they do have to most represent. And if they don't, then they're going to be fired. And here's a representative who's actually interested in what the people of his district think. And when it comes to voting on something, well, I work for them. And this is what they want. So here's how I'm going to vote. So what should he listen? Should he listen to the bureaucrats, to the lobbyists, and other special interest groups that are in his state of South Carolina, there at the Capitol? Or should he go back to his home district and ask the people, this is coming up as an issue. Here's what I think, but what do you think, and how would you like me to vote on this? And then he comes back and does his job by representing the people, the very people who elect him. I want to find more politicians like him.
Hello, I finished my free trial of adulting. I'm no longer interested. I'd like to cancel my subscription. Is there a manager that I can talk to?
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. Wake Up Wyoming goes anywhere you do with the Wake Up Wyoming app. Free download for Apple and Android. This is K2 Radio.
7:45 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. I was a little shocked earlier this morning when I heard you say that tomorrow is spring.
I know. It's like usually it's around the 20th, 21st, 22nd, but this year it's on the 19th.
Yeah.
So, I kind of was taken aback this morning, too, because I was like, well, when's the first day of spring this week? So, well, Google's never wrong, right?
Oh, no. You Google something, you're good. I mean, that and Wikipedia, who can question them? So, but let me ask you then, because Frank and I were having a little bit of a discussion here. And as far as we're concerned, there might be the day on the calendar that says spring, but we're still due at least one, maybe two good snowstorms.
Well, why stop at two?
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, first day of spring, in the Rockies, in the Central Rockies, is a lot different than the first day of spring in Washington, D.C. There's just a big difference. I mean, really, March and April, I call April the cruelest month of the year. Mm-hmm. The last frost freeze date around here is usually the middle of May.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be technically spring, but does it mean a lot? No.
No. In fact, I was taking a look at some pictures in Washington, D.C., and all of the cherry blossoms is blossoming.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you can live vicariously through photos of where it is going to be spring.
Yeah, we'll have to do. Okay, now let's take a look at the next few days. I know it's just going to be gorgeous out there. Is that all of Wyoming?
Yeah, really, the whole region. That storm that brought all the weather late last week is still down in Arizona, New Mexico, but just stuck there. And a big area of high pressure is coming over on top of it. And so a large part of the Intermountain West, from Canada all the way down into Colorado, out into the plains, will be under this high pressure ridge through Thursday. Now, Thursday into Friday, up north, it's going to snow across Montana, into North Dakota, parts of South Dakota, maybe clipping the far northern counties of the state. So by the end of the week, the high pressure ridge kind of gets beat down a bit up north. That is going to allow bigger changes to take place by the weekend. So while it will certainly look and feel like spring over the next 4 days, it's not a trend. In fact, a rather rude interruption to that is going to happen this weekend, and especially early next week, with a much colder, more winter-like pattern developing across the state and region.
Yeah, okay. Now, again, region, no, but what part of Wyoming catches that?
Everybody will catch it. In terms of it being colder, everybody will have a chance for snow. There's no way we can talk about amounts at this particular time. But certainly, I think you're going to really notice statewide Sunday into Monday. It starts Saturday in the west, but by Sunday and Monday, we're going to be 40, 50 degrees colder in some areas, and snow chances are going to go up, especially up north. The northern part of the state and the western mountains will feel the first of it.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day with day weather. So, there again, like we were talking about last hour, just because it says it's spring, well, over to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by.
Told you.
See?
Told you.
Yeah.
It's coming. 1, 2, and maybe 3.
Yeah.
I mean, this might be a small one. We're talking big.
Well, there's got to be the warm-up there. There's always the test shot from Canada. They test. And then they hit us.
The tests are usually good.
Yes.
Every single year.
Every single time.
So we just it's.
You just wait.
Yeah,
Okay, now, I got a story which I think happened in Alabama. You need to go to my Facebook page to see this, to fully appreciate it, and watch the video. So here's a red pickup truck on some back roads. And there's a couple of good old boys, and one of them, oh my God, is the biggest, roundest guy I've ever seen. He's huge. And they're sitting on a tailgate of a pickup truck while riding down the road. So they're not supposed to be doing that.
Okay.
Sitting on the tailgate with their legs dangling while heading down the road. And they're drinking beer.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
And the vehicle, well, they're not supposed to be doing that. Then the vehicle pulls over, and one of the guys gets out from the cab of the truck, and he's drinking beer, and so does the driver. So the cop pulls up behind him. When the pickup truck takes off, the big round guy rolls into the back to hang on for dear life. His buddy ends up falling out and chasing the pickup truck. Now they're heading down a dirt road, and the cop is just trying not to laugh too hard as these good old boys in the back of the pickup truck are throwing empty beer cans at the cop as the road pursues.
And they probably know him.
They probably grew up in the same town, went to the same high school together. But I'm looking at this going, you cannot get any more redneck than this. I mean, it is as redneck as it gets. And it's not like the cops don't have dash cams going, catching every single beer can that's flying at them.
Those guys would have to pull over at some juncture, like where they live, and the cop will be right behind them, like,
yes, exactly.
Hey, Billy Bob, hey!
Yeah, see, the video ends when they run out of road and end up at their house.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I've sent that to some people going, Name the state. Now, several people said Florida, and other people are with me saying that's got to be Alabama or Arkansas.
Yeah, something like that. I got you. Women's junior college basketball. Casper College won the Region 9 tournament on Saturday at the T-Bird Gym, beating NJC from Sterling, Colorado, 81-69. The T-Birds were 12 of 23 from the three-point line, which is phenomenal, and they got 23 points from Lucha X. Kelly Walsh High School grad Logan Alvar had 11 points. She was named to the all-tournament team. Casper's 28-5. They've won the Region 9 championship 3 years in a row. They'll be making their fourth straight appearance at Nationals, which will be in Casper this year. And the Birds are the 14th seed in the tournament. They'll play Blinn, Texas in the opening round a week from Wednesday at the Ford Center. The Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team will get a bid to the WNIT with a record of 16-14. They'll find out their opponent and date later on the day. Cowgirls did lose 6 of their last 8 games, but will be making their third straight appearance in the WNIT. Last year, they beat Texas Corpus Christi in the first round and lost to Kansas State in the second round. Boise State from the Mountain West Conference will also be in the WNIT. UNLV, the only women's Mountain West team to qualify for the NCAA tournament, they'll be a 10th seed with a record of 30-2. In men's college basketball, the Mountain West Conference had a record 6 teams qualify for the NCAA tournament. New Mexico, who won the conference tournament in Las Vegas, is the 11th seed in the West. They'll take on Clemson in the first round. Nevada is the 10th seed in the West. They'll play Dayton in the opening round. Utah State, the regular season champion, is the 8th seed of the Big West. They'll draw TCU in round 1. San Diego State is the highest seeded Mountain West team. The Aztecs are the number 5 seed in the East, and their first round opponent will be Alabama Birmingham. 2 Mountain West teams will be in the first 4 games in Dayton in the 10th seeded games. Colorado State will take on Virginia, and Boise State will play Colorado. High school track and field season kicked off on Saturday in Casper with the early bird meet at Natrona with pleasant weather conditions. On the boys' side, Natrona won the team title with Kelly Walsh second. Individually for the boys, Natrona's Dom Jensen won the 100. Kelly Walsh's Micah Colling took the 800. His teammate Tage Longhurst took first in the 1600, and Kaleo Brubaker of NC won the 3200. William Cantrell of NC won the 110 hurdles. His teammate Keaton Lee went 6'8" to win the high jump. Natrona's Ben Spencer won the shot put, and Quincy Paris of Midwest the triple jump. On the girls' side of the Casper meet, Natrona took second, Kelly Walsh fourth. KW's Tegan Becker won both of the throwing events. Natrona's Cami Costello finished first in the 400, and her teammate Ashley Gross won the 3,200-meter run. That's it in sports.
I seem to remember it was last year or the year before, we did an online, sort of like an office pool thing, but it was on air.
Yeah.
When does the next spring storm hit?
Let's put on some money right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you when it's going to be.
Okay.
April the 1st.
April the 1st. Oh, wow. You got it that close, huh?
Yeah, April the 1st, yeah.
So April Fools, we get hit by the big one.
Yeah. Okay. And that's no joke.
Frank is down for April 1st.
Yes.
All right, folks, what do you think? Thank you, Frank. Coming up on, well, I think we did that a year or two ago. When do you think the spring storm is going to come, and how do we know that that was officially the storm? I guess non-day will have to call it. That was it. I'll go talk to Miss Mary about it, because I know we've done this before, and I think we might have even put up a prize. We'll talk about it. I'll get back to you. Coming up on local business news time, update on your weather forecast, open phones in the 8 o'clock hour. Wake Up Wyoming. 8:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Heading into the open phone segment of the show, the most dangerous time of this program.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when the hits the fan.
Yeah, and you just don't want to be on the wrong side of the fan for that. Just any side. It's going to stink no matter what. Just don't get hit with it.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. I've been covering a lot of territory because there's a lot going on. But here's a kind of a different story for you might enjoy. So it was the president that wanted over 80,000 people, I think it was, to sign up for the IRS, to go out there and all. And that was really just going to go after the rich people, which you also know was a lie. And then Congress tried cutting off the money for all of that. All right, here's the latest. See, not a lot of people are showing up for that job. Amazing. Story says, back when the Biden administration passed the hilariously named Inflation Reduction Act, which did the opposite of that and had nothing to do with reducing inflation anyway, a debate broke out over a provision that would funnel massive amounts of money to the Internal Revenue Service. The funds were supposedly to go to hire an army of new IRS agents who would work to ensure everybody was paying their fair share of taxes. And the government revenue was predicted to increase. Conservatives, the story says, pushed back hard against the plan, but most of the IRS funding survived, yet the anticipated benefits never showed up. The reason for this, according to a new report, Inspector General for the Tax Administration, is that significant numbers of people have not been applying for the job of IRS agent. At the tax agency and the hiring process, the whole thing is bogged down. So why don't people want the job? Well, okay. A new report from the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration on the implementation of the IRA found IRS is failing to bring in the first wave of specialists, the story says, to focus on increasing compliance for large corporations, large partnerships, high-income wealth individuals. The agency has made some progress. It has eliminated barriers to posting job openings. So in other words, part of the reason is bureaucracy is holding up enlarging the bureaucracy. Isn't that sweet? But still facing headwinds that are largely outside of its control. So revenue agents for those roles have yet to been hired on board, the IG said. External applications that have been received far below the IRS targeted goal. There's an overwhelming shortage of individuals with even the desire, and if they do show up, they don't have the background experience. So they're not hireable. The previous report found that despite its new funding, revenue agent staff had actually increased only by 8%. That's like 650 employees. They wanted a hell of a lot, like 80,000 or something like that. So what exactly are they planning to do here? The targeted hiring goals are being missed by a massive amount. The story says, as noted in the linked report, staffing at the IRS actually fell by almost 10% between 2019 and 2023. Since the IRA passed, the agency had planned to hire 4,000 new agents just last year alone. They actually wound up hiring 34 new people. So overall, though, they're losing people. They're not gaining people. This is not working well. The Inspector General noticed the number of people applying for these jobs far lower than the targeting goal among those who do apply. Again, they don't have the background or education to do the job. There are likely reasons for this, they said. Low unemployment rate, I doubt that. There simply aren't enough people that are looking for work. Also, I think just people who don't want the job would rather be doing something else than being an IRS agent. Story says, while it would be far more difficult metric to track, it's also plausible that there may be something of a stigma attached with working for the IRS. You think? And well, I mean, would you want to be thought of as an IRS? You're an IRS agent? You're at a party, you're trying to meet new people. What do you do for a living? I'm an IRS agent. Didn't you audit me? Many friends and neighbors will likely applaud you if you announce that you are, well, not likely. You're enlisting for the military. Hey, yeah, congratulations. You're enlisting for the IRS. Ugh. The IRS is doing what it can to combat the problem, the story says. They're dedicating more resources to bring in on recruiters. Another challenge is the funds being used are temporary. So they better get this done or they run out of money. Wonder if I could find an ad that says that the IRS is hiring. I'm looking for it right now. An ad says the IRS is hiring. Okay, yeah, here's one from 6 months ago. That's like a 2-minute ad. You don't want that. Let's see if I can find one. Oh, wow. Okay. Here's one. It's a news story. Senator warns you not to apply for new IRS jobs. Wonder about that. Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm calling this up right now to see what the news story is, and I wonder why.
An unusual move from a U.S. lawmaker. Senate Republican campaign chair Rick Scott publishing an open letter encouraging job seekers to not pursue new IRS positions. So he says that Republicans who hope to take control of Congress next year will defund those jobs. Scott claimed the Biden administration will use the new Inflation Reduction Act to create, quote, an IRS super police force to audit and investigate ordinary Americans. Democrats, as well as the Treasury Secretary, say this is not true.
Okay. Well, let's go to the IRS website now, or a YouTube page. And this is supposed to be an ad. I don't know if I'll play all of it or not. But come work with us at the IRS.
The IRS is looking for skilled and qualified individuals to join our diverse and dynamic workforce. The work done by IRS employees helps to make sure taxpayers understand and meet their tax obligations. This helps strengthen America, providing funding for roads and bridges, our military, and support for communities across the country.
Hold on a second here. All right. First, they have to throw in diverse at the very beginning of that. And then they go back and say that this money goes for roads and bridges and military. Yeah, it does. Oh, sure it does. But what about all of the other money? What about all of the other money? Hang on just a second. Let me send a note here. I have to send a note to Miss Mary. There you go, send. Okay, so what about all of the other money that just goes into government waste and fraud and abuse of the American people? They didn't mention that.
We have a wide range of open positions across the nation, everything from accounting and analytics to technology, communications and community outreach, engineers and economists. Our employees enjoy competitive pay and great benefits. The IRS is an employer that respects your need for a healthy work-life balance.
I love this. They show a bunch of people in a park at a picnic, and they're all just laughing stupidly. It's great. That's what being an IRS agent is.
We also provide training opportunities and valuable experience you need to start and build a successful and rewarding career. You'll thrive in a professional environment where agency leaders support collaboration with colleagues in different areas of expertise. This allows our employees to learn new things and to build their professional networks. Employees here get a sense.
I'm noticing as I'm listening to this IRS We Are Hiring commercial, it's very generic in what they say that they do. Very generic. Also, I'm noticing all of this footage or the video that I'm watching here is stock. Just a bunch of laughing, smiling people.
Of satisfaction of knowing their work supports their country and their community.
Patriotism.
Find out today.
Wait, more laughing people.
What job could lead to your future? Visit jobs.irs.gov.
Okay, and that last picture of a bunch of laughing, smiling people was odd. Some of them weren't even old enough to be IRS agents. So I kind of wondered what that was all about.
And now, Inspiring Word Salad by Vice President Kamala Harris.
Bob and Doug returned to the Kennedy Space Center. They suited up. They waved to their families, and they rode an elevator up nearly 20 stories. And then They launched. Yeah, they did.
Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
8:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I'm going to head over to one of my favorite little towns in Wyoming, which I'm thinking I might have to drive out to next week just because. The town of Bill. I remember when the town of Bill had a population of like 5. Yeah. And then their population boomed, and they actually made, I want to try to remember, what is it, a New York Times, or I think it was a Wall Street Journal article, something like that. Because there's that train track that runs through Bill where cars are being switched off and so on. And because of that, they need a hotel for some workers and so on. So somebody built a rather nice hotel and restaurant in Bill. There's nothing else there. Let me see. There's a little store, which is now having a going out of business sale. There's a little post office there. Not a whole lot. And I do know that when they take ratings for radio shows and television shows, what they do is they sample the area with a survey. And then they find out based on that sample, what percentage of the population is listening to the show. So at one point, I don't know about now, but at one point, my ratings for the town of Bill were the highest ratings in the nation, as far as I know, for any other radio program. There were 11 people in the town of Bill. 10 of them were at the little restaurant attached to the hotel, having breakfast together. I don't know where the 11th guy was. And the radio was on, and they were all listening. You know what that does for my ratings? Oh, my Lord. I mean, that's just, percentage-wise, that's just huge. So, okay. I celebrated that. Well, okay, here's the story in Cowboy State Daily, which made me think of the town of Bill. Here was the mission for all drivers traveling north and south between Douglas and Gillette, Highway 59. Try and spot Bill. Which is true, because if you blink, right, for decades, the micro town of Bill, Wyoming has been the inspiration for a groaner of a dad joke, hey, kids, if you blink, you'll miss it. By the way, we get a call on this program, and I get a note from time to time from a guy named Bill who lives in Bill. So if I end up going to Bill, I might just take a vacation there, like a weekend vacation. If I end up going to Bill, I'm going to have to sit and talk with Bill. Google says Bill is an unincorporated community that travelers seem to come up on unannounced because people keep talking about highway signs. Wyoming Department of Transportation hopes to correct that soon and is scratching its head about where the signs went. Really? Did someone steal the signs? It's a mystery, says YDOT spokesperson Jeff Getz. Apparently, they're all gone, and we have new ones on order. New York Times profiled Bill in 2008. This is the story that I was talking about. Oh, Everett in Gillette. Penny's Diner is a nice place to eat. Everett, is that the place that's at the hotel, right? Is that what you're talking about? Penny's Diner is a great place to eat. So I have to try that. I might drive all the way out to Bill just to eat at Penny's Diner. Other state and regional news outlets have sent reporters to Bill over the years. For some reason, the blip on a map sometimes doesn't even register on the census count. And it fascinates people. Now, again, the New York Times profile, let me see if I can go ahead and open this up in a new tab here, because I remember reading this story on the air. Here we go, New York Times profile. For decades, a spec called Bill had 2 or 5 residents, depending on whether you count pets. But recent developments have increased the population to 11, so Bill is no more just a dot. In mid-December, these developments appeared to have, let me see, there's a 112-room hotel room there and a 24-hour diner. Hey, Everett, do you know if the diner is still 24 hours? That has to do with the railroad that changes cars all day and night there. Day and night trains, more than a mile long, rattling with dozens of empty cars going one way and coming back with coal the other way. Bill is also a crew change station for Union Pacific, hence the hotel. Okay, so for many years, railroaders stayed in what they called, well, without affection, the Bill Hilton 58-room dormitory near the rail yard, but no more. At 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, workers are changing shifts. Therefore, that's why the hotel and the restaurant is 24 hours. The hotel and restaurant actually looks really nice. It's new. Okay, so when the highway signs disappeared in Bill, all it said was Bill, Wyoming, population 1, Bill, Wyoming, population 5, or maybe simply Bill. So they're not sure at YDOT what the new signs are going to read, if they will even mention the population. But they promised that they'll be back up. We just ordered some Friday, he said. So, all right. See, now I want to go out there, and I got to try the little restaurant. Let's see, Lodging Enterprise and his company continues its role in Bill. The company runs Penny's Diner and the hotel room, which is a travel lodge hotel on the east side of the highway. For decades, Bill served rural residents in the area, a post office and a place to gather for community events. But that was then. That was way back then. We lost the post office and got referenced with Inwood Douglas now. Let me see. Here's a picture of a guy. Here's a resident. Okay. Want to change it back to Bill? I'm looking at a resident. Let's see. Young boy. No, that's Mark Coy. Now, I was hoping to get a picture of the guy named Bill who calls us from time to time from Bill. That would really be good. Okay, Everett says, yes, that is the one in the hotel. All right, Everett, I might have to go out there Saturday because I've never eaten at Penny's Diner. So, all right, coming up on local news, update on the weather forecast. Nice long segment of open phones. 888-97 Woods, the phone number 888-97-WOODS. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Sunday. You asked for an expert. We didn't have the budget for that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So since I was talking about Bill, Wyoming, and I'm thinking it's Saturday. I mean, it's Monday. I'm already thinking about Saturday. I'll go out there and have lunch at Penny's Diner. Might be kind of fun. And Bill from Bill, Wyoming is sending me a note here saying that Penny's Diner is the best food in town, which is great because it's the only restaurant in town. Do you get it? Okay. Which also means that the food at Bill's house sucks. Yeah. So, Bill, you're not making better food than Penny's. Penny makes better food than you. I just want him going out on a limb and saying. All right, so 888-97, what's the phone number? That's 888-97-WOODS, talking about what I'm talking about or change the subject. And I did look up. In fact, I'll take a look at it real quick here on... So Penny's Diner in Bill, Wyoming, does not have a website. I'm typing in on social media to see if they have anything there. I don't think they would. I don't see what would be the point. Penny's Diner, public, Wyoming House Bill. No, there's no... anything. I mean, they don't need, and I can understand it. There's absolutely no need to do any kind of, look, if you're any kind of business today, you're trying to reach the public, you have to have a website and be on social media. You have to. But if you're Penny's Diner out in Bill, Wyoming, do you need to? Really? You're just going to catch what goes by on the highway. That's it. And those people who stay at the hotel because they work for the railroad. That's it. You're really not after anybody else, so why bother? Who the hell's going to drive all the way out to Bill, Wyoming just to eat at Penny's Diner? I mean, besides me. because I'm thinking I got to do that on Saturday. I got to give it a try. But all right, I've been thinking about it for quite some time. I think it'd be fun. Anyway, so speaking of food, I've told you that the cult of climate change wants you to get off of meat, and they would like you to start eating things like bugs, right? Okay. And they're having a hard time getting that past people. They try to get people. Here's a burger. It's all made from natural meats and stuff like that. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Here's a burger that has nothing to do with meat. It's made from everything but meat. All plant stuff. And that the sales spiked initially because people were curious, but not anymore. Okay, so now that's going away. They try to get you to eat bugs, and people aren't going for bugs. How does mold sound to you? Well, why not? Why have some mold? Come on. I mean, that can feel kind of fuzzy going down, I guess. All right, scientists are using fungi to create, here we go, here's that word again. To create sustainable food alternative, they have to throw sustainable in there. By altering fungi, researchers, okay, so now we have genetically altered fungi. Oh, this is not scary at all. What could go wrong? They've created a burger patty made of mold. Oh, yum. Now, the only thing that I ever had, it was actually really good. I went to a restaurant that they said it's a burger, but they were flat out, it's not. It's a mushroom burger. And don't think of hamburger with mushroom on top. No, this is a portobello mushroom. And a portobello mushroom is every bit as big as a hamburger patty. So they would fry the portobello mushroom up and serve it on a hamburger bun with special sauce, all of that. It was actually really good. I stopped by that restaurant several times and had it several times. It was really good. Now, that's fungus, if you will, served up as a burger. But what these guys are doing, Berkeley, California. Of course it's Berkeley, California. Forget about ordering that juicy steak from your favorite restaurant, the story says. How about some mold? In a study that could transform the culinary world, I doubt that, researchers at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. I don't want my food coming from a laboratory, especially where you're doing gene splicing and so on. But all right, University of California, Berkeley have unlocked the potential for fungi to create what they're calling, here again, sustainable, healthy, and flavor-rich alternatives. Just before I go on, to the people of Berkeley, there's nothing wrong with eating animals, okay? Oh, God. All right. Anyway, with animal-free dairy and vegetarian meat substitutes already reshaping consumer choices, no, they're not. They're trying to find a role in producing environmentally friendly, and we already have environmentally friendly products. Fungi, a kingdom, it talks about what fungus is. Yeah, okay. So I can just quit there, because then they go on to explain, well, you know what fungus, I know what fungus is. And I'm sorry, if there's anything fuzzy on my burger, I would just rather not. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Off to Mills, Wyoming we go. Hey, Jude.
Hey, good morning. I saw where Gordon vetoed the bill that carved out $75 million to fight the feds on that Rock Springs resource management plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's just astounding to me, because what they're doing down there is they're basically, eminent domaining people's properties so they can set up roads and stuff to these wind towers and solar farms. And I don't know where Gordon's cojones are, unless they're in the pocket of wind and solar, is the only thing I can figure, because I would be fighting that tooth and nail.
Right.
To let them just come in and start doing things to people who have, property and stuff without due process of law.
Right.
So,
well,
anyway,
now,
that's that. And
what
then,
Gordon says, this is what he says. but I'd like to look in to see if this is the case. That he says it was not proper for the legislators to do it. That's not under the Constitution of Wyoming what the legislator does. If there's going to be a lawsuit, it comes from somewhere else.
Well, that's just passing the buck, knowing that these people probably can't afford to fight them.
All right.
You know, and that's pretty sad.
Okay.
When Gordon won't stand up for the people who put his little hiney in office. I wanted to. You could probably do your blow up thing here too.
Oh, hey, wait a second now. Let me go ahead and grab this over here. And I'll tell you when I'm all set up over there. And there she is. And then okay, go.
Okay. Trump is asking for the entire January 6th committee to be jailed. I absolutely agree. I think all of their law licenses ought to be rolled up like newspapers and shoved up their woo-haws.
Okay. The way you put some things.
Like I said the last time, 2 or 3 years ago, I said they're not showing the evidence. And come to find out, they erased evidence. They worked with Danny Willis down in Georgia. They used all J6 stuff to go after Trump down there. Well, we see how that's turning out. You know, there's got to be some accountability for this board. Liz was co-chairman of it. Pelosi wouldn't let any real Republicans get on there that liked Trump. It had to be all hating Trump, the entire panel. And they put it on like it was some sort of production that you'd watch like a mini series. It was an absolute joke.
Okay.
And I hope sometime down the road, Miss Cheney and her cohorts can pay the price for this, either by losing their law licenses or being indicted.
Nothing like that ever happens to people in Washington, D.C.
Oh, no. I mean, they're covered 100% everywhere they go.
All right.
It's just really sad. But anyway, I wanted to tell you, Harriet Hagman did a really good interview and just blew, I think it was Face the Nation or something she was on. So if you guys get a chance, check her out. She just stomps all over that little gal.
Oh, yeah. Well, considering who Harriet is, obviously.
Well, I don't think people understand. She's an attorney.
Yeah.
And she fought some pretty major battles.
Yeah, and won.
So when she's asking questions in these committees, these guys don't know what to think because they're used to lawyers that never practiced law and never worked in the private sector. You know what I mean?
All right. I got to run. Thank you.
Where Wyoming comes to talk. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS.
8:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. I got to get Frank's reaction to this. Frank, I just got done reading the story. You've heard that they've tried to make hamburger out of everything except meat, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't understand.
I don't understand. But now here's the latest one in Berkeley University in a lab. So right away I'm suspicious. They want to make a burger out of fungus.
Yeah, I thought they were make food out of bugs too.
Yeah. See, yeah, that too. Yeah. But okay, now to me, there is something, if you've ever had a chance, there's a portobello mushroom served in hamburger style, which is actually really good.
Okay.
They fry it up on the grill.
Yeah.
Lettuce, tomato, whatever you want, mustard, whatever you want to do, put some cheese on it. It's really good. But they don't tell you that it's a meat substitute. You're eating a mushroom. Mm-hmm. That's a fungus.
Yeah.
But no, these guys are making like a fuzzy fungus, and they want to turn it into something that looks and tastes like hamburger.
I went to a culinary graduation years and years ago in Poughkeepsie, New York, and they had a guy from like the Food Network. He's like, you know what? Stick to your basics as your base.
Yes.
So why are we moving away from like regular?
I know. And the thing is, nobody really is. These people keep trying, but it just doesn't sell.
Go back to your basics.
Yes. Go kill something. All right. Now, on that note, I'm having a discussion with Bill, who's in Bill, Wyoming.
Bill.
Because I want to head out to Penny's Diner. You know,
yes, right across the street, yeah.
Exactly right. And he says it's the best restaurant in town.
It's the only one in town.
That's exactly right, yeah. So I want to head out because I've been, talking about Bill for quite a while and driven by it many times. I'm sure you have too.
Mm-hmm.
But now, so there's that hotel with, have you ever stopped there?
No, I should.
Yeah.
Is there another Penny's somewhere, or is that
Yes,
the
well,
only
here
one?
in Casper, Wyoming, there's a Penny's Diner.
Okay.
Is there
Is
in
there?
Casper?
No, I don't think
Not
it's
in
in-
Casper.
yeah.
No, wait, no, I'm sorry. Cheyenne. Cheyenne has a Penny's Diner.
Okay.
Okay, but I think it's owned by the same company. I guess.
Oh, they're pennies for dollars. Women's JUCO basketball. Casper College won the Region 9 tournament on Saturday, beating NJC from Sterling, Colorado, 81-69. T-Birds were 12 of 23 from the three-point line, which is phenomenal. And they got 23 points from Lucha X. Kelly Walsh High School grad Logan Alvar at 11 points. She was named to the all-tournament team. Casper's 28-5 and have won the Region 9 championship now 3 years in a row, and they're making their fourth straight appearance at the JUCO tournament, JUCO National Tournament, which will be in Casper this year. The Birds are the 14th seed in the tournament. They'll play Blinn, Texas in the opening round. That'll be a week from Wednesday at the Ford Center. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team will get a bid to the WNIT with a 16-14 record. They'll find out later on the day their opponent and date. The Cowgirls did lose 6 of their last 8 games, but will be making their third straight appearance in the WNIT. Last year, they beat Texas Corpus Christi in the first round and lost to Kansas State in the second round. Boise State from the Mountain West Conference will also be in the WNIT. UNLV, the only women's Mountain West team to qualify for the NCAA tournament. They will be a 10th seed with a record of 30-2. Men's college basketball, the Mountain West Conference had a record 6 teams qualify for the NCAA tournament. New Mexico, who won the conference tournament in Las Vegas, is the 11th seed in the West. They'll take on Clemson in the first round. Nevada is the 10th seed in the West. They will play Dayton in the first round. Utah State is the regular season champion in the Mountain West. They'll be the 8th seed from the Midwest region. They'll draw TCU in round 1. San Diego State is the highest seeded Mountain West team. The Aztecs, the 5th seed in the East, and their first round opponent will be Alabama Birmingham. 2 Mountain West teams will be in the first 4 in Dayton. In the 10th seeded games, Colorado State will take on Virginia, and Boise State will play Colorado. High school track and field season did kick off on Saturday with the early bird meet at Natrona. Pretty good weather conditions too. On the boys' side, Natrona won the team title with Kelly Walsh second individually for the boys. Natrona's Dom Jensen won the 100. Kelly Walsh's Micah Colling the 800. His teammate Tage Longhurst took first place in the 1600. And Khalil Brubaker of NC won the 3200. William Cantrell of Natrona, the 110 hurdles winner. His teammate Caden Lee went 6'8" to win the high jump. Natrona's Ben Spencer took the shot put, and Quincy Paris of Midwest took the triple jump. On the girls' side, the Midwest meet and the Casper meet, Natrona took second, Kelly Walsh fourth. KW's Tegan Becker won both of the throwing events. Natrona's Cami Costello first in the 400. Her teammate Ashley Gross won the 3,200-meter run.
That's what kept Frank busy, which all of it's on Wild Preps. Right?
Well, of course. Yeah. And also, there was a St. Patrick's Day parade somewhere, and I can't remember where it was. The guy was on horseback, and they painted the horse green.
Oh, wow. Ew. I hope that just washes off with a hose. I hope that washes up.
The horse was green.
Well, okay, we just got done talking about mold, Frank.
Okay.
But there you go. All right. Thank you. Coming up on some local business, we have to take care of news time, national, local update on the weather forecast, and more open phones, 9 o'clock hour. Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It is a Monday. You know, I almost said Friday for some reason. It's a Monday. Trust me, you got a few days to get to the Friday, but tomorrow's spring anyway. Not that means a whole hell of a lot when you're in a state like Wyoming. To turn to you, and I'm not trying to bring you down, but to turn to you and say, hey, it's spring in Wyoming tomorrow. Yeah, that means 6 more weeks of winter.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when the hits the fan.
Well, I was about to say just be sure to be on the right side of the fan. Don't be in the room, honestly.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move. Dave.
Right now, the U.S. Supreme Court is listening to a case that has to do with censorship of social media, of you, maybe, on social media during the last election. I'll get to that. Right now, JR's in Thermopolis about energy. Hello, JR.
Hey, got a couple things, Glenn. One is on Friday's topic. It's a crapageddon.
Oh, okay. So what he's talking about, folks, is you walk into an outhouse and you're afraid of sitting on the hole because something might bite you in the butt. That is a phobia. What do you call the phobia? It's what a phobia. So you're saying crapageddon-ophobia.
Crapophobia.
Okay. See, to me, it has less to do, I understand where you're going with that, but it has less to do with the crap. And it has more to do with what might bite you in the butt.
Right.
Not the fear of what you're doing, but what the fear of what might happen to you. And that's where it's been very difficult for us to find a term that goes with that.
Right. So on the energy I was going to talk about, you know a lot about it. You've talked a lot. I don't know if people know that the backup for wind power, if the wind would ever quit blowing, is natural gas.
Right.
So we're still drilling.
Yeah.
And in the batteries for cars like on the EVs, one is, do they know where the materials are coming from to build the batteries?
Yeah.
There's mining. Everything's mined almost.
Well, and for that matter, I oftentimes point out to people who are very pro wind and solar and batteries and so on, and they talk about it as if it's nothing but rainbows and unicorns. So when I bring up the mining process, plus once you get the minerals out of the earth, you've got to separate them to get to the actual rare earth minerals, and that's a highly toxic process. And then when you want to get rid of that stuff, that's another highly toxic process. Then, unless we start mining for it here in Wyoming, which we might, most of it is coming from places like China and Africa, where there's not just slave labor, but there's child slave labor. And when I bring this up, they just brush it off and deny it exists.
Correct.
Yeah. They want their unicorns.
Yeah, and then the battery for the semi weighs 3,000 pounds.
Right.
So for every 8 trucks on the road, the 8th one is hauling what the other 7 couldn't in weight. So there's going to be more traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have something. Well, go ahead. Then I have something on that.
And then one more thing real quick. I called a couple months ago and asked if you've ever heard of Paul Harvey's If I Were the Devil.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And then one other thing, and I'll be done, was colleges. You're talking about schools the other day, too.
Mm-hmm.
My kid went to school in Casper for 2 years, transferred to Laramie. Some of the credits did not transfer because it's not not the same class.
Okay.
But, again, these kids are going to school, getting loans, get out of school. They can't work in Wyoming at $50,000 a year.
Right.
They got a $50,000 loan to pay back.
Yeah. So,
but the school, my point is, the school won't help. Casper College doesn't, the credits don't transfer from Casper to Laramie, and they should.
Right.
They're the same.
People really need to pay close attention before they get a college education. They're paying for what exactly? And what good is this going to do them? Once they get that degree they're after, are they going to get a job that will help them pay off that loan in just a few years? If not, then don't go to that college, don't go for that degree.
Well, and he even took classes for his degree.
Yeah.
And from Casper to Laramie, they wouldn't transfer.
Right, yeah. So all that work for nothing.
So, exactly. But anyway, that's all I had.
All right.
Just a few things to reminisce about, I guess.
All right. Thanks for calling, JR. He's calling from way over in Thermopolis. Since JR brought up the truckers thing, I haven't played this in a while, but let's go ahead and break down. What if we decided to take all semi-trucks, like Biden wants to, and go all electric?
Just so we're clear on the scale of the issue, each electric vehicle battery for a heavy-duty truck weighs 8,000 pounds, and you need at least 2 of them. So we're talking the weight of, 4 or 5 cars. And my friends and peers in the industry nationwide who have tried to make efforts to put in, say, hey, I'm going to convert a dozen forklifts to electric, or I want to tee up a facility for 30 electric trucks. There's no power. The utilities come back, the cities come back and say, is this some kind of joke? One friend tried to put in Illinois a facility, tee it up for 30 trucks electrification. The city came back and said, this is some kind of joke. You're asking for more draw than the entire city requires. And just to give you an idea, 30, 50 trucks, that's like a 5-6 megawatt application. The factory that makes the trucks is a 2 megawatt factory.
The numbers don't add up. And once again, when I talk to people who are in favor of these things about, let's talk reality about this, I guess they go into denial. They really do. And I guess it's because they want their unicorns, which are fantasies. So they'll just brush off everything I say, but I'm the science denier, you understand? All right. A little while ago, week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to, believe it or not, the theme song for the Beverly Hillbillies. And I decided to rewrite some of the words. And I remember I saw a meme on this, too. The Beverly Hillbillies cannot move to Beverly Hills these days. They're hillbillies, and they got rich through oil, and they have old-fashioned values, and it's not going to work. So because of that, they would end up leaving. Wouldn't they pack up and leave? So we have to rewrite the song. So I did. And then I went out there and looked and found the perfect voice to sing the old. I mean, he really does do this well. I would think as good as the original version.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. Then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground came a bubbling crude. Now he's a rich white guy living in Beverly Hills. Liberals, Botox, hypocrites, gun control. Well, the first thing you know, they tax his underwear. Ken folks said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you need to leave, so they loaded up the truck and they moved to Tennessee. Low taxes, coal mines, and diesel trucks.
Isn't that guy great?
Come visit. Set a spell. Take your shoes off. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Now, some people in Wyoming said, how come you didn't say Wyoming instead of Tennessee? It doesn't rhyme. I tried to figure out how to do that, but it just doesn't rhyme.
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Nine 9:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Micah's on the line. Hi, Micah.
Hi. I was listening to that gentleman talking about the college transfer credits.
Right.
And that happened with my daughter, actually, when she was going to George Mason University down in Fairfax.
Yeah.
And she had transferred over there from the University of South Carolina. And she had already taken several classes at George Mason, and they were not transferring some of her courses from Carolina. So she went in, we discussed it, and I was like, this is a money-making thing, Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous, because for the credits that they were not transferring, they were useful for her curriculum, and there were similar, not exact, but similar courses that George Mason was giving. So she went in, made an appointment with the president of the college, went in, talked to him, and explained, the situation. She's like, if this is a money thing, this is crazy, because I can spend my money anywhere I want. So here's the deal. Either you accept my my transfers, or I will just find another college that does accept them, and I will put my money in there and get my degree from them.
Yeah.
And, she won her case, and they transferred them over.
Yeah.
So I would suggest for anybody to do that, because it's just a money thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, you just adjust whatever you need to make my credits valid. And she said, I don't care if you call them elective courses or whatever, but the same number of credits per course needs to transfer over.
Okay.
And, you've got an administration, you guys work it out, and I'll get my degree, You'll get my money for the next couple semesters, and we'll all be happy.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best way to do that is, here's that money walking out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't want that to happen, so they'll make a deal.
Well, and sometimes the higher ups don't know what all is going on. Or even once they do find out, if it is logical, because they want to keep a decent reputation.
Right.
So, their role in the college is a little bit different than the people that work all the other stuff. So, yeah, it behooves them to have it brought to their attention when these things happen. So I suggest that guy go that route.
Okay.
And see if something can't be worked out.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. I hadn't thought about that before. Yeah, you just go ahead and threaten to take your money somewhere else. Which goes back to what I've said about universities anyway, or colleges, is they want you to take all sorts of other courses in things that don't matter towards your degree, which, by the way, you can study on your own. Because I've often heard the excuse, well, you want a well-rounded education, right? Well, yeah, I can do that myself. I don't need college to do that for me. If I want to learn history, I can go do that. Or name some other subject. You got to take these elective courses. I can go study all of that on my own anytime I want. I don't need college to do that for me. So let me just save the money and focus on the classes that are actually needed to get me toward whatever profession I chose. And this is where some people have disagreed with me, but I'm standing by what I said. My thought is, okay, if you go to a technical school and you want to learn welding or how to be an electrician, that's what you want to do, right? Well, that's what you take. You take courses directly toward that, whatever that is. You want to be a welder. Your courses will be nothing about welding. I mean, nothing except welding. That's all you're going to do. But you go to a college and say, I want to become a whatever. Okay, but you have to take all of these other courses that have nothing to do with that profession. That's a waste. But also, what about the students that show up in college and they really have no idea? I mean, it's the time of my life I'm supposed to go to college, but I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. So they just start taking classes. My question is, well, then why are you here? If you're just taking classes, you really don't know what you want to do? If I were the college, I would say, then you're not ready to be here. Show up at the door of the college specifically knowing what is it you want to do. And if you don't know that coming right out of high school, okay, well, go get a job somewhere doing something and think about it. You were supposed to figure that out while you're in high school. But if you need a little more time, okay, go take that time. And when you've decided what it is you want to do, if you've decided at the same time you need a college degree for that, because not everything takes a college degree. College degree does not make you better than everybody else. All right, so if you decide, I want to do this for a living, does that take a college degree or not? I think Mike Rowe is right about this. One of the biggest mistakes we've made in this country is assuming that a college degree makes somebody a smarter, more well-rounded person. Well, not necessarily, especially in a lot of today's colleges and universities. It's doing the opposite. It's ruining people with their social engineering. It does just the opposite of that. I mean, there was a time you young ladies out there would have gone to a finishing school, is what they called it, to make you a more well-rounded lady. I don't think those exist anymore. But now they want to make sure that you go to college because, you got to get that extra stuff to make you more of a well-rounded human being. But again, it's indoctrination in leftist propaganda. It really is. And that's not making people better human beings. These kids are coming out of these colleges just a mess with no clue how the real world works. In many cases, their teachers are communists, literally, or at least socialists of some kind, with no concept of how the real world works. So sending someone to college doesn't necessarily make them a more well-rounded human being. And again, I spent most of the weekend, because I'm a dork like this, I had some books I wanted to read and some other things I wanted to study, and I have varying interest different sciences I like to read and study about, and various other things that just really interest me. Aviation, history, stuff like that. And so I just poured through a bunch of stuff because I like to learn things. That was most of my weekend. Not everybody likes to do that. I do. If you want to go ahead and achieve these things, the world is available to you, especially now that the internet's around. The world is available for you to learn all sorts of things. So I would like to send students to a college where it was specific toward, the first thing they do is they ask the young person, what do you want to do for a living? And they need to have an answer or they can't go to the college. And if they do announce that, well, I want to do this for a living, then college courses are lined up to get them specifically to that job without wasting their time or making them spend all of that money. Blue Eyes and Douglas. That's why every time someone talks about me becoming a nurse, I tell them, did not go to a regular college. Got a nursing college, which is what I did. And they fought it's very specific to nursing, in other words. Yeah. Micah says, my daughter's career did require a degree, so that's essential. However, degrees can also be obtained online. Yeah, it depends on what the job is. I wouldn't want to become a surgeon with an online degree. I'll tell you that for sure. It's Wake Up Morning.
Sunday. Sure, this show is sustainable. We sequester all gas emissions to one room. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, live on AM 1030 and FM 95.1, weekdays at 6.
9:36 at time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. This is interesting. I have on the ridiculously large television that's in my studio here, and some people have asked me, how big is it? And the reason I say ridiculously large, it is on the big side, but many of your homes these days have TVs that are just as big. I mean, it's pretty good size. But it's the fact that it's so close to me, which I look at, I don't need something this close to me that size. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, right now, a press conference is, this person as Bruce Jenner. Now people are calling Caitlyn Jenner. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Giving a press conference because of some laws that are trying to be changed, even on Capitol Hill, even in Washington, D.C. And it surprises many people where Bruce Jenner comes down on these topics. Because you would think, being someone who's trans, that he would want to have trans people being able to compete in sports. In other words, if you have someone who's a biological male wanting to play basketball with biological women, or swimming for that matter, that should be okay. But according to Jenner, no. You would think he would be on the opposite side, but Jenner actually says, look, you're talking about someone who's biologically a male. This is what I'm hearing on the television here. And I've heard Jenner say this before. This is someone who says, someone who's a biological male, they might identify as something else, which Jenner does. The lungs are bigger, the muscles are bigger, the hands are bigger, et cetera, et cetera. And so not only does it give them an unfair advantage, but in some sports it can actually be dangerous. And so we shouldn't be doing this. Now, Jenner's been saying this for a while. I hope finally regular news media out there, what we call mainstream media, will start to cover this. I would love to see that. All right. A story I've been trying to get to this morning. I'll touch on it real quick. Maybe I'll get to it tomorrow. We'll see. U.S. Supreme Court is hearing a case alleging government censorship by media. The Supreme Court will hear arguments today. They're going to hear arguments about whether the government can pursue social media companies to remove content from platforms. Biden administration appealed the nation's highest court ruling by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals last September that stated the Surgeon General and the White House and the FBI and the Center for Disease Control violated the First Amendment by pushing social media companies to delete comments about COVID that they disagreed with, calling it misinformation. Although, and it's no surprise, we find out later that a lot of the misinformation was actually coming from government. But all right, and news media. But all right. Last July, U.S. District Court ruled against the Biden administration and issued an injunction. And then they were going to work on it from there, right? U.S. Supreme Court agreed to hear the arguments on appeal, whether the government's challenge conduct transformed private social media companies into content moderation, where the government was able to, they say, censor certain things that were being said that they disagreed with. The government's, and it would be very dangerous, a very dangerous precedent if the Biden administration were able to get away with this. Because it's one thing to do this over COVID. That's bad enough. Now, what about pick a topic? We can do climate change. Pick a topic. The economy. All right, so that's what's happening now at the Supreme Court. One other story. Google has interfered with elections 41 times over the past 16 years, according to a media research company. Yeah, Google has interfered with major elections in the United States 41 times over the past 16 years. MRC researchers found 41 times where Google interfered in elections over the... Okay, they're repeating themselves. Hang on. From the mouths of Google executives, the tech giant was never meant to be made public that Google used its great strength and resources to advance its leftist values, which they did. I mean, if you tried to search something, what would come up may not be what you searched for. Depends on if they wanted you to see it or not, which is why when I go for certain news even was just repressed and other news that they liked at Google was put up front. If you want to find something specifically, you might have to dig if you can find it at all, which is why I say I like using Google because it's a platform that allows me, whatever I do here, it's on my phone, it's on my computer at home. It travels with me. Whatever I do here travels with me. And it makes work really easy. All right. But when I go searching for something online, I don't use Google. There's other platforms that I found where I can actually find what I'm looking for. And I just don't use their search engine really anymore. 9:42 is the time. Wake up.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
Coming up at 9:48, off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, sometimes I put toss out there that I'd like people to join me on something that's totally insane, and I'm surprised how many people raise their hands and go for it.
Well, because they probably have nothing to do.
Well, okay, here's my idea. And
Okay.
Frank, you are welcome to do this.
Okay, yeah.
Free donuts will be provided.
Whoa.
Okay, so
That's it. That's the beginning and the end right there.
I want to get a old van that's a donut delivery van. You know, the kind with the big donut attached to the roof?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I want to speed down the road and get into a car chase with cops. So the cops are chasing a donut truck.
Oh,
Now-
should it be the other way around?
No. I want the cops to chase the donut truck. And I need people. Now, you do this professionally. You record video professionally for people.
Yes.
Okay. I want you on cameras.
Okay.
Okay, so we can capture all of this. And I also need people in the donut truck with me throwing donuts out at the cop cars.
Thinking
Yes.
that the cop car would stop and grab the donut off
I
the
don't
pavement?
know. It would just be funny as hell, especially when a jelly donut hits.
Well, yeah.
I mean, splat.
you know, and then it's all over the cop's windshield, and I can't use the video from the dash cam because it's all full of donut stuff.
Now, I did get already some people. Ed Good, who, by the way, his father, Jim Good, was a world-famous racer, Casper, Wyoming, at the Reno Air Races.
Yes.
Okay. Ed Good said, evasive move. Throw maple and chocolate glazed donuts out onto the highway. They'll skid.
True.
Okay.
Or you can make eclairs, but make sure they land in the direction of travel.
Yeah. Several people are worried about the jail time. I don't care.
Well, it's three hots and a cot for you.
I mean, really? I mean, what if when they finally pulled us over, we offered coffee?
Yeah. And then they go, by the way, this donut van, we're impounding that.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Now, all the cop cars will have to go through the car wash.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah, after you do all this kind of stuff. But no, I saw a picture of an old-fashioned donut van with a big donut on its roof, and right away I thought,
we need one of those.
We need one. Yes, we do need one of those just around town in general. I mean, we have the Ectomobile. You've seen it from the Ghostbusters.
Yes, all they're up. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a donut mobile in town?
I think we used to.
Okay.
It was, can't remember the name, but they had the answer is yes.
Did they have a big donut on the roof?
Not on the roof, no.
No, but a painting of a donut.
Yes.
Okay. See, that's something I think so, yeah, you're on cameras. Do you want to be in the vehicle with us as we ride, or are you going to be
yeah, because I think that once we get pulled over, we could bribe the cops with
donuts.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, like I said, that's what the coffee is for.
Say, you know what, come on, let me buy you breakfast.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, in women's JUCO basketball, Casper College did win that Region 9 tournament on Saturday, beating Northeastern Junior College from Sterling, Colorado, 81-69. Birds were 12 of 23 from the three-point line. It's phenomenal. They had 23 points from Lucha Axe. Kelly Walsh High School grad Logan Alvar with 11 points. She was named the all-tournament team. Casper is 28-5. They have won the Region 9 tournament 3 years in a row. They're making their fourth straight appearance at the National JUCO tournament, which will be in Casper this year. The Birds are the 14th seed in the tournament. They'll play Blinn, Texas in the opening round. That'll be a week from Wednesday at the Ford Center. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team will get a bid to the WNIT with a record of 16-14. They did lose their 6 of their last 8 games, but will be making their third straight appearance in the WNIT. Last year, they beat Texas Corpus Christi in the first round, lost to Kansas State in the second round. Boise State from the Mountain West Conference will also be in the WNIT. UNLV, the only women's Mountain West team to qualify for the NCAA tournament. And they will be a 10th seed with a record of 30-2 this year. In men's college basketball, the Mountain West Conference had a record 6 teams qualify for the NCAA tournament. New Mexico, who won the conference tournament in Las Vegas, is the 11th seed in the West region, and they'll take on Clemson in the first round. Nevada is the 10th seed in the West. They'll play Dayton in the opening round. Utah State, the regular season champion, the 8th seed of the Midwest regional, and they'll draw TCU in round 1. San Diego State is the highest seeded Mountain West team. The Aztecs are the 5 seed in the East, and their first round opponent will be Alabama Birmingham. 2 Mountain West teams will be in those first 4 games in Dayton in the 10th seeded games. Colorado State will take on Virginia, and Boise State will play Colorado. High school track and field season kicked off on Saturday in Casper with that early bird meet at Natrona. For the boys, Natrona won the team title handily with Kelly Walsh second. Individually for the boys, Natrona's Dom Jensen won the 100. Kelly Walsh's Micah Colling took the 800. His teammate Tage Longhurst won the 1600, and Kaleo Brubaker of NC won the 3200. William Cantrell of NC took the 110 hurdles. His teammate Caden Lee went 6'8" to win the high jump, and Natrona's Ben Spencer took the shot put. Quincy Paris of Midwest won the triple jump. On the girls' side in the Casper meet, Natrona took second, Kelly Walsh fourth. KW's Tegan Becker won both the discus and the shot put, and Natrona's Cami Costello first in the 400. Her teammate Ashley Gross won the 3,200-meter run, and that's it in sports.
I did hear the story a while ago about where the whole idea of cops and donuts came from. And really what it comes down to, especially in bigger cities, but any place that had a 24-hour donut shop.
Oh, they got to go somewhere.
Yeah, well, the cops a lot of times would have to take a break, and they would have to also do the paperwork. And so the only place open
at that late was donut shops.
Was a donut shop, so that's where they would go. And so that became the joke, oh, cops and donut. Well, that was all that was open at the time. I mean, how many diners are open across the country that late?
Yeah, but then again, when you go to a place and you see 3 or 4 cop cars and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they have to take a break sometime.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Frank. Yeah, I really want to do that. I get a hold of an old van with a donut on a roof and make it look like we sell donuts out of it, and then get the cops to chase us. I mean, come on. I just want to show of hands who's in. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that national local update on the weather forecast. Wake Up Wyoming.